Alrighty, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Comics Run the World podcast. As always, I am your co-host, Orion Scott Comics, aka Mateo. And as always, per usual, I'm joined by
Woody, how was your weekend, dude? How was
pretty good.
everything besides Guardians of the Galaxy? What were you up to?
Studying for finals, guys. I got prepared for finals. That's mainly what's been buying out my time as of right now. What about you?
I'm pretty much done with mine, so I beat Jedi Survivor.
Nice. How was that?
It's amazing, dude. It's so good. It's so good. Cal Kestis is a top 5 Jedi. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, I know we were talking about it. You should definitely check out Fallen Order. It's a shorter game too, so you can kind of get a feel if you want to play Survivor. But uh, I think the story's a little bit better in the first game. It gets a little out there in the second one, but
Gotcha.
it's a great game.
Awesome. All right, and as always, before we start the podcast, I always gotta ask this question: what are you reading right now? If you're reading anything,
Okay, I technically have not been reading anything because of Jedi Survivor,
right?
but I know we're about to read TMNT Volume 3.
Yes.
And then I'm about to today, probably going to start reading I think it's the new X-Men by Grant Morrison. I don't
Oh
know,
yeah, New X-Men. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
by
That
Grant
one's
Morrison.
good. That
I'm
one's
about to
good.
start reading. I'll read TMNT first, but then I'm going to start reading new X-Men by Grant Morrison.
That was a good one. I read Volume 1 of that. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, I I know it's got Frank Quietly on art, and I've seen his art. I like it a lot better than All Star Superman from what I've seen. At least his art there. So I'm excited to pick that up. What have you been reading?
So I started reading this. I read two things. I read Dune, the graphic novel, book one. I read it. I didn't really like it that much
I was about to say
because
you didn't give it a good rating from what
I
I
did
saw.
not. I did not. Because I already read book one of Dune, um, and like reading the conch version, they do like kind of skip over or just like gloss over some things, which I didn't really like. Well, it has to be like it has to because it's a graphic novel form rather than an actual novel form. Um, didn't really like the artwork or anything like that. It just feels like like fan made. No
Yeah.
offense to the artist, but it just wasn't for me. It was enjoyable, I guess, but overall, I did prefer like the book. And then I just started reading Essex County by Jeff Lemire today. I'm already, I think, 80% done with reading it. It's like 500 pages long. And I started this morning. It's really, really good. Jeff
Okay.
Lemire is like my favorite writers of all time. So it's a really, really good read.
Nice, nice. I hadn't even heard of that. I'll have
It's
to.
I think they just made a series on it and on I think Prime maybe, but they just released a series on based off of it. So I might have to check it out after I read it.
I forgot. I want to read new X Men because there's an omnibus coming out, and I want to figure out like if I really really love it, I want to buy it. But
Mm.
I forgot what I really want to read is I want to read all of the War of Kings
Oh,
stuff
okay, yeah,
because the run Nova has a run and it pretty much it goes from like Annihilation to the end of War of Kings.
yeah,
It like all takes place in that like cosmic saga, and I want to read all of that. So I'll either read War of Kings or New X Men, but those are the next two comics that I want to read.
yeah. I was checking out War of Kings and it looks cool because I hear a lot of people say like if you really liked Annihilation Conquest, then you just gotta read War of Kings and then Realm of Kings next,
Yeah.
which it looks pretty cool. So I'm excited to jump into that. But today we are going to be reviewing the newest MCU movie, and in my opinion, the best since Endgame, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Okay.
You already have a you
I
already
already
have
disagree.
I
I really liked it though. I want to
yeah,
make that statement.
it's really great. So right off the bat, I just want to ask you, how was your experience watching it? What did you feel like, didn't like, all that type of stuff?
I really liked it, man. I haven't even thought about like ranking. I know we're gonna do that today, the three Guardians movies,
Yep.
because like I was talking to one of my friends about it. Like Yeah, like I know we're gonna rank them today, but just as a whole, it's just so good. Like
It
as a
is.
trilogy. Like
Yeah.
to be fair, you do have to see Infinity War and Endgame for the third
Yeah.
one, but still, like as a whole, it's great. We can debate all day which is the best, whatever, but I it's a perfect ending to the trilogy. And my I'll also say a negative. I
Okay.
think I think this movie had the worst soundtrack, not soundtrack, but the worst
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what are
Like
that, the mix,
yeah.
the Guardians mix, the music that James Gunn picks or whatever. I think this had the worst of the three.
Really?
Yeah, I think I think the other two had way better music.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Um. Uh. What was I gonna say? I really liked the movie. It was really great. Like you said, it's like the perfect way to conclude the trilogy with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Basically, all of them going their separate ways. If you guys haven't already figured, we are going to talk spoilers on this. So if you guys don't want to listen to the spoilers, just skip over. But I really loved this movie. It was really great. We see it's like literally revolved around Rocket and his like trying to save his life, and we get glimpses of his horrific backstory, and it's just like like the best conclusion of the Guardians. What a negative I would say that I have with this movie, just to start us off, it's got to be like Adam Warlock
Okay.
of like his
Uh,
placement in the movie. Just to really, I was like, it just seems like just to serve for like the plot, not like actually have like something to do with them and such.
he did feel kind of thrown in. I guess I have a hard time deciding my thoughts because I've just never ever cared about Adam Warlock as a character, like ever. And I've
Okay.
read, I've read about him in multiple comics, Infinity Gauntlet, Annihilation Conquest. There's some others I read a little bit in Infinity War. There's some other stuff I've read him in the Guardians of the Galaxy video game. I didn't really care about him there. Um, and then here, I pretty much agree. Like, I don't know. I really liked the part where it's that little space puppy
Yeah.
and he says something and then she's like, I'll kill the space puppy. And he's like, okay, don't get rash. I like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
part. I like that part a lot. But
It was like in the middle of chaos, and he just cuts him like deadpan. Like, all right, don't be rash.
yeah, don't be rash.
That was a really funny part. I really liked that.
But I agree. I really like the actor that plays him, and I
Yeah.
don't think he did a bad job. He had funny moments, like we're saying, but I don't know. I just can't get into Adam Warlock. He's not interesting to me.
All right. I guess I can understand that. Uh, but yeah, I mean, like he would appear here and there, and I just feel like he would just appear just to move the plot forward. Um, but I would agree that the actor who plays Adam Warlock did a pretty good job for what he was given. Really good. I'm excited to see what he does in the future. Um, I feel like even like when you tease a character like Adam Warlock at the post credit scenes of Guardians 2, you like expect to have more of him, like more like substance to him essentially, not just having just throwing him in like just for the plot essentially.
I feel like a lot of people were expecting the Adam Warlock we get in like Infinity Gauntlet, where he has a literal Infinity Stone in his head, but they went with, from what my knowledge is, like the Annihilation Conquest Adam Warlock.
Yeah,
I mean, pretty much like he's serving the High Evolutionary. The High Evolutionary, it's like he's his master, just like an Annihilation Conquest. So that's what it reminded me of. He still has, I don't know what his thing
yeah,
is on his forehead, is if it's just to resemble his comic self, but it's not an Infinity Stone.
yeah, that's true. Speaking of the High Evolutionary, how did you feel about him as a villain? And a lot of people are like off the bat saying like the High Evolutionary was better than Kang. Top three MCU villains. Personally, I wouldn't completely agree, but I just want to ask, how do you feel about him as a villain?
I'd put him over Kang for sure. Um, I actually think he may he may have been a little too good because
Yeah,
another another it's not a negative, but another in my view it's negative, but all of the animal abuse is going to make this movie, it's going to make it hard to rewatch for me.
No,
Like
I was exactly because I was like saying like I was thinking about rewatching it. It was so good, but I just can't. I can't sit through those scenes again.
dude, like it's brutal.
It is very brutal, and I knew Rocket's backstory was rough, but I didn't know they would go to that extent of showing how rough it is. And I just I don't know.
Dude, I like I can't rewatch this movie that much. Like it's
Yeah,
genuinely I animal abuse is like that's a no go for me. Like that's
definitely. Yeah,
but as a villain, I mean he was insanely good, I think. Like he was just his presence was
yeah.
super. I love the scene where the lady's like butt. He's like a butt. He's like that rancid word when she
Mm-hmm.
says butt or something.
Yeah,
I thought he was a really menacing villain and like actually like he felt like a threat. He felt
yeah,
scary. And
yeah. I totally agree. I think this is the same actor who was in Peacemaker,
yeah.
which was pretty cool. But yeah, I think he did a phenomenal job as the High Evolutionary. Really menacing, like you said, and he's totally like irredeemable. No matter
Yeah.
totally irredeemable. Like no matter what happens, like what was his like tragic backstory, if he even has one, is it's you just
Doesn't
can't
matter.
you can't like this guy, and that's something where I like where you can't really rationalize with him. So you're like, oh, he has a point. No, you don't. It's like it's he's like crazy, and like we see that one scene where like I forget what it was. It was during one of Rocket's backstories where he just comes like stumbling into like where the cages were, and he's just like acting completely crazy. Do you
Yeah.
remember?
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like where like he gets like all mad at Rocket because he knew like what the issue was, and he was like, "How come like you're the only one who gets it, and like
Yeah,
me?"
he's like I made you.
Yeah, so like he's like the actor A did a phenomenal job, and like just like as the High Evolutionary did really well. And I would also say that he is better than Kang.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to think about I no one for me. It's going to be really, really hard to top either Thanos or Loki. Like those are the top two for me, and it's I don't know if he's number three. I'd have to really think about it, but
Yeah,
he's up there for sure.
yeah, he's definitely. I would say he's definitely. If I were to say top five, he would be number five for me.
Do you know who your other four are? I don't know who
Uh,
my top five is. I'd have to.
so at five, I say the High Evolutionary. I think my favorite villain is Zemo, Baron Zemo. I
Okay,
think
that's
he
a
did
good
a
one.
really good. Then Thanos, then Loki, and my fourth one. Oh, and Killmonger.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I would. I don't know. I don't know where I'd rank him, but he'd be in my top five. I think
Yeah, he just did like a really phenomenal job.
he kind of
So
reminds me of Joffrey from Game of Thrones, where you're like
yeah,
begging for him to die. You're begging for like kill
yeah,
this guy. I
right,
was kind of upset when Rocket didn't shoot him.
yeah.
I wanted I wanted Rocket to shoot him in the face.
But it was really fun to see like all the Guardians doing like the aerial combo on him, where like he just keeps like bouncing like a ping pong. That was pretty cool. Um, but speaking of which, I see like a lot of like this like talk about this on like Twitter and stuff like that, and how like the Guardians feel like a actual family now. Like they all like care for each other, one another. And there's this one thing where I saw about like Nebula's like story arc as a whole throughout the Guardians movie. How in the first one she's like a complete villain, and then how the third one she's like part of the family. Everyone cares about her and stuff like that. So I was wondering like out of all the Guardians except for Rocket, which had like the best like story arc across like the trilogy, you say?
Um, Rocket has ever since the first movie, he's been my favorite Guardian.
Yeah,
Um, but I would say Star Lord for sure.
yeah,
Like, I don't think you can say Groot. Like,
yeah.
I love him, but
Yeah, he doesn't really have an arc, essentially, because he's just there. He's
Star
helpful and all, but you know he doesn't really have like an arc.
I would say it's definitely Star Lord. It could have been Gamora, but
Yeah,
she's literally a different Gamora in this. So I would say it's Star Lord.
yeah. I would honestly say Nebula.
Yeah,
I really liked her how like she develops as a character, not only within the trilogy, but also in Infinity War and Endgame, and how like she like becomes more of like a hero progressively, which I really liked. But yeah,
that's probably that's probably the correct answer now that I think about it. I guess the reason I said Star Lord is I really like just kind of like the message of like this movie when Gamora at the very end, Gamora, he kind of makes his peace. Like
yeah,
he's like she's like, I'm not the girl I want you to be. He's like, yeah, but that's okay. Like he kind of in this movie got to be with her, and it felt like he got to make his peace. And
yeah,
she was like, I bet we were fun. And then he's like, okay, she's gonna go off on her own way. I'm gonna go off on mine. I kind of liked that. Like it sucks we didn't get to see them be together,
hmm,
but at the same time, I do like that message a lot. So, and then obviously him going like home to his grandfather. So I
yeah,
guess that's personally I'd pick Star Lord, but I do think Nebula did have probably the best
yeah,
like
definitely.
overarching.
So obviously, before we watched Guardians, we read Annihilation Conquest. So personally, when I came into watching Guardians, I was trying to see see like if like there's any like allusions to Annihilation Conquest or like just like Annihilation in general. Um, I picked up a few. Obviously, like the suits were like awesome. I don't
I
think
was
they.
so mad he didn't put on his
I
mask,
know.
dude.
I think James Gunn had like an explanation for that on Twitter, where like he was like in a rush and he just left it. He just
Oh,
left it back.
from what I've read, he was going to have Star Lord's mask destroyed in the second movie,
Mm,
but he wasn't able to because they wanted his mask in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame for
right.
both like marketing and toys and also because the mask is awesome. I
Yeah,
don't
that is true. Yeah. It would have been sick to see the Annihilation helmet. That would have been great. Um, but something that I picked up is is in the first post credit scene where they formed the new Guardians. Uh, it's Rocket now, Captain Rocket Raccoon, which is pretty cool. Um, what's what's the guy's name with the arrow now?
James Gunn's brother. I
Oh man, I
I
forgot
don't
what his
know
name
his
was.
name. Kraglin,
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 yeah, yeah,
Kraglin, Kraglin,
Kraglin.
Kraglin.
So is Rocket Raccoon, Kraglin, who else? Groot, obviously. Uh,
Huge Groot, big
yeah.
Groot.
What's it? The little dog thing, Blur, I think it's
Cosmo.
called Cosmo as well. And then one of the children they rescued joins them, and her name is Phyla,
I
and
know.
she has the same powers as like
She
on their arms. So I was like, oh my god, no way. So when I don't know, it was just me. I got a little excited because like obviously we just read Annihilation Conquest, so I was like, all the Guardians are still alive. They could they could easily do an Annihilation and Annihilation Conquest. I don't know if they're actually gonna do it, but they have everything is right there. They're all disbanded now, but they can regroup to fight Annihilus and or if they continue doing it, Ultron and the Phalanx. Um, I don't know. That's just me. What do you think about that?
before I disagree, I will say it felt really cool because they I don't remember who says it. It's like Rocket or something. He's like, "What do you think, Phyla?"
Yeah,
And I was like, "Huh?"
yeah. I was
And
like,
like
what?
it felt really cool because like growing up like back in the day with like Avengers when that came out and they had Thanos, I didn't know who that was.
Yeah,
I had to Google it. It was a really cool moment for me now that I've been reading comics and we're doing this podcast and whatever. Like I was like, "Oh, like I know like it's
yeah,
not Phyla, but I know what like they're saying there. Like I know, and
yeah.
I saw the arms light up,
Hmm,
so that was kind of a cool moment to be like, okay, I know this stuff now.
hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
totally agree.
but here's why I'll disagree. It's it's not like everything you're saying is right. I'm just thinking of, okay, we've gotten the phase 4 or 5, whatever maps, and it's like Kang Dynasty, all that. So, but I feel like they won't do Annihilation after that because they'll be focusing on the Fantastic Four and X Men.
Yeah,
So I don't know if they did it. It would have to be like I don't think they would include the Fantastic Four or the X Men. I don't even think a lot of the Avengers would be in it.
yeah.
So it would have to kind of be its own thing. So I don't know. Maybe, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
I know it sucks, but it's just right there. It's all right there, and I just hope they do it, but who knows? Like it's like you said, because like to have like an event of like that scale and like and
Yeah.
just in between like the phases, and I know like phase 6 hasn't been fully announced. Just I think it was just 3 movies, big Fantastic Four starting it, and then King Dynasty, and then Secret Wars. So having like another event, Annihilation Conquest, just like thrown in there might be like a little too much, maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm still hoping for it. It's all right there. If anything, I'll step in and make it myself.
Yeah, we can do it.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
definitely don't if they do it, I really don't want it to be a Disney Plus series. Like that is just like such a massive event. Like it's literally if we do Annihilation for example, it's a giant wave of bugs taking over the entire cosmos. Like
Yeah.
I don't think you can just that needs to be a theatrical release.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also like I don't know, like there's like a lot of there's like obviously there's like the mini series involved, and I don't know how they're gonna do like all the mini series plus the main event and like have it not feel rushed in a sense.
Yeah.
So like there's obviously there's like a lot like going into it, and like it's like it's I wouldn't say it's a long event, but it's a pretty dense event with like all like the characters, like the side character stories and all, and like the main series and like all that stuff.
Yeah. It would be a lot to mix together with like everything they have announced
Yeah,
already. So,
definitely.
but I hope I
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Annihilation would be that's the one I would pick. I would want to see. I would want to see Annihilation.
Written and directed by us.
Yes. We will
Exactly.
write it. We will direct it.
Yeah. Um. So back on to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Um. I was gonna say something. What was it? I also saw this discussion how like once you see Guardians 3 and like you see like that really like tragic backstory of Rocket, once you go back and rewatch volumes 1 and 2, there's like a lot of things that and like a lot of things that Rocket does and says that has like a lot more depth into it. Like in volume 2 where Ego's like planet is about to like explode, and he says like I can't lose any more friends. A lot of people are saying how like he can't lose any more friends, like how he did, and like the cages with the high evolutionary. So it has like more meaning to that. Um, so I kind of want to say on like if you were to rewatch it, would you agree with that, or would you feel like they still has like the same amount of like meaning to it?
I mean, I guess I definitely would agree. Like there's an interview with Bradley Cooper where he says that like before even filming for the first one, he said that at the end of the trilogy, like this is all going to happen. They're going to explore Rocket's backstory, and he said like he kind of believed him, but he's like it's always tough to see all of that actually come to fruition. Like
Yeah,
there's just so much that goes into it,
yeah,
and he said like once he saw the script for the third one, he was kind of like shocked, like wow,
hmm,
we're actually doing it. So he definitely like was planting those seeds in the first 2 movies. I mean,
yeah,
he definitely knew I think the overall story. So I had already found those scenes really emotional and in general. It definitely does add to it though, like this movie.
yeah. Definitely, I agree. Another thing where like for this movie before I watched it, I was concerned about like the humor in it because I didn't want like it to be like the basic like MCU style like humor, like formulaic. I thought the humor was really good in this movie personally, especially Drax. I love like Drax like just like like his deadpan deliveries on his jokes. How would you do you feel like the jokes were better in this movie compared to like other Marvel movies, or do you think it's just like, the same Marvel stuff?
I have like I don't really agree with like the whole thing of Marvel humor is bad. I think it's only the bad movies that have the bad Marvel humor.
Yeah,
Like there is bad Marvel humor. I think Ant-Man and the Wasp has a ton of it.
yeah,
I think Ant-Man and Quantumania has a ton of it.
that's true.
Um and there are other movies that have some of that bad like cringy humor, but the good movies I think are sometimes hilarious, and I think Volume 2 is like the second funniest Marvel movie for me. The funniest for me is Ragnarok, but I thought the humor here was great. I
Yeah,
mean, I laughed out loud at when when Drax hits the girl with the
well,
ball in
yeah,
the face. Um, and then I mean I loved Star Lord open the fucking door. Like
yeah,
that was good. I mean Drax is always hilarious. I think he's probably the funniest character in the MCU for me. So
definitely.
the humor was great as always with these movies.
Yeah. I know that yeah, it was like when Starla said like open the fucking door, at like all the theaters like bursted out laughing and stuff and like that. And
There were some kids in mine, so like
yeah.
there was some laughter, but I heard some of the parents be like, "Oh," like they were like, the
Uh
parents next to me didn't like it, but I laughed out loud. I didn't
yeah,
care.
it was really funny. I had an interesting theater experience with this movie. It was two people. It didn't ruin it by any means because I saw it with a group of friends, and it was just these two other people. One in like in the front, and one in like at like the at like adjacent side of the room. And the one guy would laugh, but he had like a horrendous laugh. It was so I couldn't even replicate it if I tried, and he laughed at everything delayed,
Ugh.
and like he would laugh at like the like things that weren't supposed to be funny. So we just hears like his like really goofy loud laugh like at random points, and I'm like, and like there's another one where it's more of like a wholesome one where like it's just like this dad and like with his daughter, and you just hear them like giggle, and like the the dad would like something would happen in the movie, and he would just like yell out like, "Oh yeah, that's right." Is it like especially with like the with the Guardians beating up the High Evolutionary?
Oh my
He was
dude,
like, "Oh yeah, get him, get his ass, get him."
I don't know. I don't know what it is with people. Ever since I swear it's ever since Infinity War. Ever since Infinity War, people think they're on their couches at home.
Right.
It. I swear to God, the worst theater experience in my life with Wakanda Forever. It was unbearable. I almost started illegally pirating movies after that at my house because, like, when I tell you anything that would happen in Wakanda Forever, anything, he would just be like, "Oh yeah," and then he would be like, like I swear, like anything, like whether it's funny, sad, he'd be like, "Oh, like no, like don't,"
Oh
like,
god.
and
Ah.
I almost killed the guy in the middle of the theater.
Yeah. Oh man, I would have been so pissed. And
But I
that
got
but
lucky. This one I went to was good. I think what the trick I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start going to matinees.
yeah,
The audiences seem to be better in matinees.
definitely. Yeah, cuz what was it? Yeah, like during like Guardians 3, there are also people who like laugh at like things that are not funny, but more in a sense of like it being a very serious and like sad scene. Like there are some parts in like Rocket's backstory that's like really terrible, where it's like I'm just like, oh my god, like what's like I was like in shock and like just like sad, and then we just hear people giggle, like where they're like where Star Lord starts screaming because like Rocket basically dies
Oh
for a
yeah, when he
second.
dies, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like doing chest compressions on him, and like just like everything's just going like crazy. We just hear people like giggle. And I'm like, what are you giggling at right now? And
What?
I was like, what are you doing? It's like, oh god, it's people like that. Like sometimes, depending on the movie, it's funny, but like, and you just gotta pick and choose like when to be obnoxious or not. Because like when I saw the re-release of Morbius, it was like
That would be funny to.
it was so much fun. It was so much fun because everyone thought it knew it was a joke. Everyone was screaming like "No!" and then everyone started clapping
Morbius.
during
Yeah.
like the dancing scene.
That would
Oh,
be funny.
it was
That would
such
be
it
funny.
was a great time. But yeah, um, so just to wrap it up, overall, your would you rate it? And like all that stuff. Like, would you recommend it? Best of the three.
What was some of your favorite scenes though? What was some of your favorite scenes or things? What was some of your least favorite things besides Adam Warlock? I already know you said that. I can tell you one of my least favorite things right
Okay.
now. I heard way too much Vin Diesel in Groot's voice.
I know. I did. I
Usually
did notice that. I did notice that. Yeah.
in the first one, it was like a good mix of you could tell it was Vin Diesel if you really tried, but like this time it just straight up sounded like Dom Toretto from the
Yeah.
Fast and Furious. Like
Yeah, it's true. I guess for me, besides Adam Warlock, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I guess like I don't know. I don't know actually because that was like my main like gripe with the movie was Adam Warlock and like just like him being in the movie just being for like a just to drive the plot and nothing else. Um but for another one,
I got a question if you can't think of any
yeah,
negatives.
I can't think of anything now.
Which part got you the closest to crying or that you
Ooh.
did cry?
I came very close. I was like I was fighting demons during where and I keep seeing the scene online on like TikTok. I'm like I can't watch this. I can't watch this again for like at least a couple weeks. It was a scene where Rocket escapes and then like
Yeah, I knew
and
it.
then he frees Lila and all of them and then oh man, dude, I was like, dude,
The
I
little
was
bunny is like
yeah, the oh dude, I was fighting demons. I was like, I can't.
I
Then
was struggling there.
that was like the closest I ever came to like in any MCU movie. It was
Really?
yeah, like that was like the closest. I think that uh that whole scene was more gut wrenching and like just like me fighting the hardest than like anything else in the MCU by far.
I cried in Endgame.
I mean,
But I was welling up in that the
yeah,
scene you're talking about. I didn't fully
dude.
cry, but
Yeah. Um, I don't know if it's I don't know why, but like when Iron Man, it probably because like I was already spoiled the day of I saw Endgame that Iron Man dies. But when Iron Man died, I was like, oh damn, and just that was it. That was my reaction. But with this one, I don't know. It was just because it was like animals. Like I love like my favorite animals are otters, right? And I just seeing that, I was like, oh my, I was like, oh no, and then just like Rocket's reaction as like and then like the bunny like freaking out and like the walrus just stare like in complete another shock.
yeah. And then he turns and they're both shot.
Yeah, they're oh dude, I was I was fighting so hard for my life, and then
I was too.
I was so happy where Rocket just like mauls the hell out of his face. I was so happy, but I was like, oh man, I was so sad.
I'll list off some favorite parts. But my second favorite like funny part was when Peter is like he's like just let me say it from the bottom of my heart, you know, like all this stuff he's telling that girl to do it, and then he's like, yeah, I'm not that stupid. He's like, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna, and then he does the gravity thing.
yeah.
I love that part where he's like, yeah, I'm not that dumb. Like, um, also, I think the cutest part was when little baby Rocket is helping the High Evolutionary like fix his problem, and it's like a specific part where the he's like, "Oh, what is it called?" And the lady's like, "Oh, it's called that." And he just goes, "Yeah, them's." And the way he says "them's,"
Yeah.
I thought it was the cutest thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
them's.
it just sucks because like even though like that part was cute, you just remember like, oh man, he's gonna get tortured later, like horrendously. And the part that was like really shocked me was like when like they're all like watching like Rocket getting tortured. And I found it interesting how like Nebula said like that was like this is totally worse than what Thanos ever did to me, and
Yeah.
and like coming from her says a lot, and it's just like
Mhm.
their all their reactions also really also got me. But on a more positive note, a really good scene was like the hallway scene towards the end. That was brilliant,
Dude.
dude. That was so good. I loved that scene. It was
You know what
so
we'll have to eventually
badass.
do is rank comic book hallway scenes
Yeah,
because we see that there's way too
there's
many
a
good
lot.
comic book hallway scenes.
Yeah, that one. Oh man,
That one's good, dude.
that one's really good.
I like the I hate saying cinematography because I don't know anything about like I hate when people overuse that, but I do like the way the like cameras like move
yeah,
in from like character to character. Like it is really cool
yeah,
the way it's
definitely.
shot.
And it's like all one shot too, which I liked a lot. But that was really badass.
I
Another
like Drax being it's like you're not meant to be a destroyer, you're meant to be a dad. I like that a
Yeah,
lot.
and like at the end, like, the whole dancing montage, he's basically a dad to like all those like the rescue
Yeah.
kids. Really heartwarming. Like they all have like a great end to their like like they're all their issues gets resolved at the end essentially with like
Yeah.
Drax becoming a father again and having like the time of his life. Rocket like event like getting that past and like getting closure out of it, dealing with it. Peter going back to Earth, rekindling with his grandfather. Gamora going to the Ravagers, and then Groot just being
Being Groot.
Groot.
I love that like cuz everyone including myself was theorizing like who's going to die
yeah,
and this movie kind of made me realize like I don't know. I feel like Game of Thrones has gotten me into that mindset of like, oh, who's gonna die, who's gonna
yeah,
die. But like this movie showed like, I don't know, not everyone has to always die. Like we can get a good ending every now and then.
that's
Like
true. That is
it
true.
felt really good to see them all, you know, get a good ending to their story.
Totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. So I mean, I kind of hope that like even without like James Gunn and like even though like the original Guardians are not together anymore, I do really want to see like the new Guardians that we see obviously in the post credit scene and like just like them working together in like some capacity. I'm sure there'll be in like King Dynasty and
That's what I'd
Secret Wars.
imagine.
But I kind of just want to see like something. Like it could be like a little like a short special of just like of them doing stuff. But yeah, I really liked it. A lot of great scenes, a lot of emotion.
In the second post credit scene, it says the legendary Star Lord will return,
Yeah,
which I assume means he signed himself a new contract and
yeah,
I maybe we get a Star Lord movie, but I bet that basically means he'll be in these Avengers movies.
oh yeah,
Like he'll be there.
definitely. I totally agree. It'd be interesting to see a Star Lord movie or like or Disney Plus series. Who knows? But I wonder what they'll like do. Maybe just like it should. Maybe it doesn't have to be like a him in space doing adventures, just him on Earth and trying to like
I would like to see that. Yeah,
that would be like it would be a nice change of pace and
yeah,
also it's like very interesting because like when they're on counter Earth, he has no idea how to drive, which is really
yeah.
funny.
I
He
like
had
that.
no idea how to drive, so it'll be interesting to see how he interacts with the other earthly things, um, and like meeting up with like other heroes maybe, or just like doing like basic stuff would be. I'd be
Yeah,
happy to see that. Honestly, it could be a special series or a movie. Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see.
yeah. I would like that. Um, did you? Yeah. Did you hear that? I actually assumed this when I saw it. I was surprised I got it right. But when Groot says "I love you all,"
Mm,
that is it's he says I am Groot, but that's like us as the audience like it's almost like us becoming a part of the family and
yeah,
now we can understand him.
yeah.
Which
That
is what I assumed. I was like there's no way he just said that. Like
yeah, and like yeah, because like even with like all this like crazy like weird like stuff happen, you can't like just him saying like I am Groot and like people like full like saying or like reiterating like he said this like big paragraph of sentence just like I am Groot. It makes sense because like especially with Gamora, how she only hears him say I am Groot, but at the end she understands him. I really like how like now we as the audience can understand that like he's been talking the whole time. It's just like we just haven't been like connected with them
Yeah,
until just now fully and like committed to like basically the Guardians of the Galaxy family, which I thought was another really great touch to end it off.
yeah, I agree. I think if I was to pick before I rate it a favorite moment from the movie besides that hallway scene because it was really awesome, I think my favorite moment is Rocket doing the gravity boots and just being like, "I'm Rocket Raccoon." And
Yeah, yeah,
that
that
is
was sick.
so great.
That was sick. Yeah. Um. So overall, would you rate it?
I I think it gets off to a I don't love like the middle part of the movie all that much. So but it is really 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 good. I would give it a solid 8 out of 10.
I would give it a. I would give it like an 8.5 or 9 out of 10 personally.
Okay.
I know you had a reaction to what I said earlier about this being the best MCU movie since Endgame. That's I think it's the best one since Endgame. What do you think?
I'm going to put aside No Way Home because I've said a million times that does it feels like an event. Like it's not
Yeah,
it is a great Spider-Man movie for Tom Holland Spider-Man, but it's so hard to compare that. Like that's it's more of like a dream come true that movie.
right.
But I would say I've got Wakanda Forever over this movie.
That's fair. I've yet to watch that, so
Really?
that's yeah. I've been wanting to watch it for a while, but I just never had the time.
That
I'm.
would there's no way you don't cry. That movie made me cry. I forgot about that. I
I might.
cried in the beginning and I cried at the end. Pretty
Mm.
hard too. It was a weep.
I might have to watch it today, honestly, because I don't think I have that much to do besides like some studying. But I might check it out today. But yeah, I loved it. I think it's the best since Endgame. But I've yet to see Wakanda Forever, so we'll see that. Um, but yeah, it was solid. It was great. I loved it a lot. A lot of great moments. So now that we've seen the third Guardians, and this concludes the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, how would you rank the Guardians movies?
This is really, 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 really hard.
I already know my ranking. Easy.
I think I do, but I hate to do it, but I've definitely got volume 2 at the top.
Okay.
I love volume 2. The next two is what's tough. I think right now, I think I would put the first one in the middle and I'd put volume 3 last. But like that doesn't I really loved volume 3. Like it's not I hate to have to put one of them last. I
Yeah.
think that's how I would do it though. I love volume 2 so much. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Um
It's really good.
and I love just a lot of the moments Peter finding out what Ego did and also like
Hmm.
Yondu telling him to use his heart. I really like those parts. And besides the dance save the universe, I think volume 1 is like damn near perfect. I hate that dance, but um besides that I love that movie.
I would rank it Volume 3, Volume 2, and then Volume 1.
Okay.
Is I before Volume 3 came out, I always preferred the second one over the first one, and it's a very unpopular opinion that I came to figure out because apparently like a lot of people didn't like Volume 2 that much, which is
That I've seen so many mixed opinions. Like
yeah.
I've seen some people saying volume 2 is way better. I've heard volume 1's way better. I just think they're both good. So I think
Mhm.
it's just kind of it's opinionated. Comes down to
Yeah.
what you prefer.
Just to throw in a little curveball, you got your rating on the trilogy. Where would you put the holiday special at?
I actually never watched it.
Oh, you never watched it?
Never watched it. I meant to watch it during Christmas and now it feels wrong, so I'm waiting until this
Oh,
coming up Christmas
okay.
to watch it.
Um, I mean, I'd obviously put it last, but not because it's bad. It's really fun and cool, and they do reference the holiday special in Volume 3. Um,
I actually I know the gist of what happens, so I did get the reference. Like I know that they like abduct Kevin Bacon.
yeah, that
So
whole
I
thing was pretty fun. But yeah, obviously compared to like three actual movies, it is last, but it doesn't mean it's like not good. I liked it a lot. So we ranked the Guardians movies. Now MCU trilogies as a whole. We got Iron Man, Captain America, uh, Ant
Ant-Man,
Man.
Thor is
Obviously,
not a trilogy anymore.
that is true.
Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, Spider Man, and obviously Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that's it, right?
That should be it
All right.
because like we said Thor is not a trilogy anymore. It's got 4 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Um so yeah, that should be Avengers has got what 5, so
Yeah.
I need a trilogy. Yeah, that's all our trilogies.
All right. Let's start off at the bottom of the list. Who would you put at the bottom?
At the very last,
Yes.
Ant-Man.
Yeah. I
I
would agree.
I actually really like the first Ant-Man and I don't like the other two.
Yeah. I oh God. I remember watching Ant-Man and the Wasp in the theaters, and I
Oh,
was like, I hated. I don't know. I just felt like there wasn't a villain in that movie. Like Ghost was like, yeah, the villain, but like
that movie is
really,
so bad.
yeah,
That movie is so bad.
yeah.
Uh,
I do like. There's this one part where like they just say like was it Scott or something says like, do you guys just throw on the word quantum in front of everything just to sound smart, or is that an actual thing? So I thought that was pretty funny, especially with the it being ironic how like the third one's called Quantum Mania. So I thought it
yeah.
was pretty funny. But yeah, the first one's really solid. I liked it a lot, but the other two kind of dropped the ball. It's I don't know. It's especially
I don't think
Quantum Mania.
Quantumania is near as bad as the second one, but it's not good either.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So that's number 5. Where you put number 4? Where you put number
I
4?
feel bad, but I got to do it to Tony. I'm putting Iron Man at number 4.
Yeah, I agree.
It's tough.
It is. I might be in the minority of this, but I really liked Iron Man 2 a lot. Not better than the first one, but like the second one's I really liked it a lot.
I can't say I really liked it, but I do think it's overhated, and I don't think it's as bad as everyone says.
Yeah,
Like, it's decent. I
yeah,
I, I think it's like it's okay. Like if somebody told me let's put on Iron Man 2, I wouldn't be mad.
yeah.
I'd watch it.
I mean, I like all of the Iron Man movies. I liked number 3 too, even though there's a lot of you know interesting things that happen to it with like the Mandarin.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff, but
Yeah,
I like that movie a good bit. I like Iron Man 3.
yeah, they're enjoyable at least, except for and then, like Ant-Man and the Wasp, not enjoyable. So obviously the bottom part, all the Iron Man movies are enjoyable in my opinion. I like them a lot.
Agreed. I could watch any of those 3 and have a good time.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Now number 3, we have what? We have.
Cap, Spidey, and Guardians.
Oh. Okay.
I
I know who's number 3 for me.
these 3 are on a different level. Like I think these 3 are I would say are great trilogies. All
Hmm.
3 of them.
Yeah.
For number 3, I'd have Cap. Hurts, but I'd do it.
I have. Wait. Hold on. Let me think about this. Actually, hold on. I almost said Spider Man, but I was like, wait a minute. Let me rethink. Let me rethink because I gotta go back and everything.
We got the first Avenger, Winter Soldier, and Civil War, and then with Spider-Man we have No Way Home, Far From Home, um, and wait, no, Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home.
Oh man. Oh man. So for the first Captain America movie, I'm not a huge fan of it compared to like Homecoming, I find like Homecoming. I've said this a lot. Is like very rewatchable, very entertaining.
So good.
It's a lot of fun. Um,
I actually think the first Captain America is super underrated.
Not
I
really.
think it is a really fun watch.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it again because I rewatched it recently, like
When we do all
sometime.
the comic book movies.
That is true. Whenever that comes up, my opinion might change. But you, you got Winter Soldier and Civil War, like the two like best in my opinion, the two best like MCU movies.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
It's funny because like the third movie of each of the Spider-Man and the Captain America just feel like events. They're like events. We got the obviously Civil War is basically like Iron Man, not Iron Man, Captain America, Avengers 2.0 essentially.
It is kind of an Avengers movie.
And then obviously No Way Home. It's like this huge like Spider-Man fan spectacle. I'm gonna have to put Spider-Man number 3 in my opinion.
I I think that is the correct answer. I don't disagree with that. I'm gonna put Captain America at number 3. But
Respectable.
I mean, I agree. I think Winter Soldier and Civil War are two of the best MCU movies. So like, it just come that now. Like once we get to this part, for me, it's just coming down to personal preference, like what I enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's tough. But all right, number 2,
Number 2, I got Cap.
Cap. Number 2, I got Guardians of the
Ah,
Galaxy.
okay.
I will say though, I think Guardians of the Galaxy is the best trilogy in the MCU, like for sure. I
Yeah.
don't think it's debatable. Like I said, it comes down to personal preference. That's why I've got Spider-Man at number 1. But I think it is the best trilogy.
Yeah. And that leaves me with Guardians at number 1. It's just I mean, I just think like the third one just really encapsulates like everything as a whole, and I feel like that's my like personal favorite. I think out of all the MCU movies that I rewatched the most, the first one's No Way Home, not No Way Home, Homecoming. That's the one I rewatched I think the most. And then right next to it is Volume 2. So I just love everything about it. I'm a just like the whole Guardians of the Galaxy thing. I really loved, especially after I played like the video game, which was a lot of fun. I just like the Guardians like a little bit more over the rest of the trilogy.
This movie made me want to replay the Guardians video game.
I might have to honestly. I might
I got
have to.
Zelda's coming out on Friday, so I'm about to be a hermit and only playing that. But
Gotcha.
that the Guardians of the Galaxy video game. I mean, if you're in a Guardians of the Galaxy mood because of this movie,
Yeah.
it's 70% off on the PlayStation Store.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh
so
wow.
I'd highly recommend it. The gameplay isn't anything groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It's like passable, but the story is really good. The characters are really good. That's what the game is really about for me, just
Yeah.
the story and the characters and the dialogue.
I like the voice acting and it too. I to be honest, at first when I saw like the gameplay, not the game, well yeah, the gameplay. The thing that I had like kind of like a pushback was like the character designs of him, of like the Guardian, especially Drax. I didn't like his character design, but like they're all their like stuff just like grew on me more and more as I played throughout the game. And obviously, you can
Also,
change your cut like you can customize them essentially.
that's what I was going to say. You're able to eventually customize them. Whenever I replay it, I want to, since I know the story now and everything, I think I'm going to go on like a YouTube video and I want to make sure I get all the costumes this time
Yeah,
around. I want to get like every item. Did you go into the collector's like museum or whatever it was on?
yeah.
That's a really cool little section of the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like I just it's definitely like because obviously like Guardians movie ended, and if you still like want more Guardians, and if you don't want to read the comic books for whatever reason, definitely check out the game. It's really fun. It's awesome. I really like the voice actor for Peter Quill in this
Me too.
a lot. And like I like how you still you only you basically fight as Peter, but you can still call upon like the Guardians. They they they're like they're not useless like companions because like there's like, a lot of companions. I can think of like God of War Ragnarok where like I'm fighting like a berserker or whatever, and just like my companion's like just standing there, just like just like there. But like they all do their things. You can call upon them. They have like different abilities. Really cool. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. Definitely check it out if you still have like that Guardians high after the third movie.
Yeah, it's 70% off in PlayStation stores digitally, so
Yeah.
definitely check that out. I would try and give Guardians comics um suggestions here, but I've never personally been interested in reading Guardians comics. Um I know that through War of Kings, just like Nova, their run
Yeah.
goes throughout that, so I'll be reading that. I've heard Brian Michael Bendis has a good run. There's a brand new Guardians of the Galaxy #1 that's like a western that's coming out like right now in single
Ooh.
issues. That's supposed to be good, but I don't know. I've never been like, oh, I want to go read a Guardians comic. So
I know Donny Cates had a Guardians run, but like the roster was like completely different people.
I just remembered something, dude. I don't know if it was. I don't think it was supposed to be a shout out, but it could have been when they're in that area. I don't know what it's called with like they've got on the Among Us spacesuits,
Oh
whatever
yeah.
that place is called. One of the guys that looks like Nathan Drake from Uncharted. I don't know what his actor's
Oh,
name is.
Nathan Fillion.
He calls Mantis Bug, and I
Yeah,
was like,
I got that. Yeah,
I was like,
I was like, wait.
I was like, Bug. Is that?
Yeah.
It could have been a reference. I don't know.
No, I totally got that. I because yeah, I did get that, and I'm in my head canon. It's a call out to Annihilation Conquest. In my head canon, it is. But yeah,
Yeah, I in my head, it's a call out to Bug. It is. It is.
yeah.
I mean, it definitely could have been.
I mean, yeah, it could be. If they did call out Bug just like that, they can easily do Annihilation Conquest now. But yeah, I did catch that. And I was like, I was the only one in my friend group. I was like, could that be a
Bug.
call? It would have been cool to see like an Easter egg of like him like just somewhere like chilling. But
Yeah.
oh yeah, but I did get that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So with that being said, after all this Guardian talk, definitely do check out the Guardian runs. There's a lot of them. There's the Jim Valentino run, like from the 80s and 90s. It composes of the Guardians that we see at the end of Volume 2, like the Crystal guy and like just like the different ones. I think those were the original one. I know Yondu was in the original roster. Definitely check out Dan Abnett and Adam Landing's run on Guardians. It's the one we were just talking about, that crossover with
Yeah, that's the one that because Dan Abnett's also doing Nova
yeah.
at that
Um
point.
Check that run out. There's a run on Donny Cates. You said there's one on Brian Uncle Bendis. There's a new one that's just came out recently. Or is it last week or is it coming out just now? Or
The #1 already came out.
okay,
I think it's like a western. I'm
awesome.
not
I really
100%
want.
sure.
I want to check that out because I love westerns. So this seems interesting. But yeah, definitely check out Guardians of the Galaxy comic books if you want more Guardians. Definitely check out the video game. It's really fun. Like you said, it's 70% off. With that being said, is there anything else you want to add on before you?
No, I mean next week we're gonna do TMNT Volume 3, the TMNT IDW series. We're gonna finally do the Whose Voice Do You Hear
Yep.
segment, where we'll pick some characters and we'll say who we hear as we're reading them.
Yep.
And then at the end of that, I think we'll spin the wheel to see what movie we watch next week after that. So, yeah,
Imagine if it
I,
lands on Ant-Man and the Wasp.
it's gonna have to at some point. So
It
maybe we
is,
should just
yeah.
get it out of the way.
But yeah, with that being said, just bounce it back off to you. Where can they find you on the internet?
Um, just follow our Twitter and TikTok, which is both Comics RTW at Comics RTW. Right now, we've got a Star Wars giveaway. We're giving away Star Wars Omnibus. It is in the Star Wars Legends universe. It's about it's during the time of the Phantom Menace. It's got a Darth Maul series in there. It's really cool. So just go to our TikTok to enter, and yeah, just follow those two accounts.
Awesome. You guys can follow me and find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Orion Scott Comics. And exactly what you said, definitely go follow our Twitter and TikTok at Comics RTW. We're using TikTok a lot more now. Not TikTok, Twitter. We're using it a lot more. TikTok, we are still using it too, which is posting clips of the podcast and just like giveaways, like you said, and just like general videos about like random stuff. Definitely check those out. And with that being said, next week, like you said, we got TMNT Volume 3, Whose Voice Do You Hear? And then we're going to spin the wheel on the next comic book movie we watch. So until then, keep reading comics, go to your local comic book shop, support them, and just remember that comics run the world. All right, see ya.